Most people didn't pay much attention to IT support at Corewell Dynamics. Not because they were rude, just busy. When something broke, you submitted a ticket. When it got fixed, you barely looked up from your laptop. So when Nina Ellis, the short woman in the oversized gray hoodie, walked through the 12th floor marketing suite holding a Wi-Fi signal tester, no one looked twice. She had worked there nearly 5 years, quiet, quick, efficient. She reset routers, rebooted frozen laptops, changed keyboards with sticky keys. Most didn't know her name, just that when Wi-Fi went down, she somehow made it come back. Until one day, on a Tuesday morning in April, she fixed more than just a signal. And what happened next rewired the entire company. It was 9:42 a.m., and the executive boardroom was in chaos. A major video call with international investors had failed to connect for the third time. Projector flickering, no audio, Wi-Fi unstable. The company's CTO, Alan Fry, stood red-faced, cursing under his breath. 6 high-level European investors were waiting in a Zoom room. Millions were on the line. Then someone said, "Call it." That woman, Nina, she fixed the CFO's laptop last week in, 5 minutes. She arrived a few minutes later, hair tied up, badge dangling from her hoodie. "Sorry," she said, crouching beside the conference table. "Just give me 1 second." Alan barely looked at her. He was too busy emailing apologies. But within 45 seconds, she had the router redirected, the VPN tunneling repaired, and the entire connection stabilized. The screen flickered, then perfect clarity. The room exhaled. Cameras rolled. Nina stood up and turned to leave. That's when it happened. One of the foreign investors, an older gentleman in a blue scarf, paused mid-conversation and asked, "Excuse me, young lady? That accent, are you from Marseille?" She blinked. "I lived there until I was 13. He switched to rapid-fire French. Without missing a beat, Nina responded. Effortlessly, warmly, locally, like someone who belonged. He smiled wide, then motioned to the screen. Could she stay for the call? Some of my partners speak better French than English. Alan looked surprised, then nodded awkwardly. Nina sat in the corner of the room and quietly began translating key points as the meeting rolled on. She was fluid, direct, with none of the awkward gaps or robotic phrasing the company's usual translator used. The investors leaned in, they laughed. They clarified concerns they hadn't been able to explain before. One even said, out loud, "This is the clearest this deal has ever sounded." After the meeting, Alan stopped her outside the room. "You didn't say you were fluent in French." "I didn't think it mattered," she shrugged. "I'm here to fix Wi-Fi." He looked at her differently now, less like a technician, more like a connector. "Do you speak any other languages?" he asked. She smiled, a little shyly. "German, Russian, a little Korean, some Polish. My grandmother was Czech, and I read Greek, Koine, not modern." He blinked. "Greek, as in?" "Biblical Greek. I took some courses online, just curious." That afternoon, Alan pulled her employee file, IT Level 1 support, no college degree. Joined after 2 years of freelance repair work, performance reviews, efficient, quiet, always early. Nothing in there about languages, nothing about her past, so he asked her to coffee. They sat in the corner of the building cafeteria, and she told him her story. Born in Marseille, immigrated to Detroit at 13, loved languages, learned through music, books, church services, took care of her little brother after her mom passed, never had time for school, only jobs, worked at cell phone repair booths, public libraries, even rewired a church sound system, landed at Corewell by chance after fixing a partner's crashed laptop at a job fair. "I've always been the person people forget until something breaks," she said. "But I listen, and I read, and I never stop learning." Alan sat quietly, let it sink in. Then he asked her something that would change everything. Would you consider moving to strategic communications? She laughed, thought he was joking. He wasn't. The next morning, she was called to HR, new title, Linguistic Systems Analyst. New badge, new department, same hoodie. At first, some people clapped, some whispered. By Thursday, rumors were everywhere. She used to fix modems. Now she's translating CEO briefings. I heard she's CIA. No, she's probably got a double PhD and was hiding it. But Nina didn't pay attention to the noise. She just started showing up to meetings with international teams, clarifying memos, translating documents no one knew were mistranslated. She corrected a product manual that had been confusing Asian clients for 6 months. She didn't do it loudly, she did it thoroughly. And people began to notice. 2 weeks later, the company's international VP pulled Alan aside. Who is she? That's Nina. Where has she been? Downstairs, fixing your Wi-Fi. By the end of the quarter, Nina had led 3 workshops on cross-cultural messaging. The Berlin office called her indispensable. The Seoul team finally understood the pitch deck, and she was asked to advise on 3 expansion plans. But perhaps her biggest contribution? She quietly rewrote the onboarding manual for the IT department. At the end of the document, she added a line in 12 different languages. If you don't see their title, you might be missing their value. One day, Alan found her in her new office. There was a soft hum of instrumental jazz playing, a globe on the shelf, same NASA sticker, now on a MacBook. He leaned against the door frame. You okay? She smiled. Just wondering when I wake up. You earned this, he said. Doesn't feel real yet. Want to know what I think? She turned to him. I think you were never just fixing the Wi-Fi. You were always building a signal. We just finally tuned in. She looked down, then back up. Guess we all have bandwidth. Just depends who's paying attention. He smiled. The whole company's paying attention now. And they were. Because sometimes the most valuable voice in the building isn't the loudest. It's the one behind the scenes. The one that connects everything quietly, completely. And once you hear it, you don't forget it.